best comic book superhero movies of all time. What's up, folks? This is Justin Garcia, aka Master Chim, and I'm here with the super whiteness, white boy Patrick Kelly.
What's up?
And welcome to another episode of the Pressure Project podcast. ThePressureProject.com is our website. You could also find us doing our thing on the PressureProjectMembers.com. It's our member site where we archive. We now have over 100 episodes archived. A couple of extra members only, content there available also.
True.
Worth checking out. Give that a shot. Info at thepressureproject.com is our contact email. So you got anything to say, suggestions. We've been getting some great guest suggestions lately, and that's where you could send them.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about comic book superhero movies.
That is correct.
We each, very similar to our Ninja movie episode.
Yeah.
We have, we're going to do a top 5 list for each of us.
Top 5 best comic book superhero movies.
We had to, because we had to come to grips with what exactly we were including and not including.
Correct.
So we picked a criteria. We decided on a criteria.
Yeah.
I'm going to read that now.
Check.
The movies must be from an illustrated comic or novel and must have a character or characters that possess superhuman, fantasy, or alien characteristics and or capabilities. Animated movies were not included.
That is correct.
So no animated movies because you lose track. There's too many of them.
There's a lot of animated movies.
We would have to do one just on that alone.
Yeah.
So the conversation was you can't just say comic movies because you got
History of Violence.
Road to Perdition.
You got 300.
You got a whole bunch of movies that most people have no idea from comics or graphic novels.
Yeah.
So we decided to exclude those.
Yeah.
Now, each of us have a top 5 list.
Correct.
Only one movie appears on both of our lists.
Yeah.
It's my 5.
It's my 4.
And your 4.
Yeah.
So let's start with that.
Okay.
All right. So The Punisher.
The Punisher.
The Punisher, the original Dolph Lundgren.
1989.
1989, The Punisher.
Yeah.
To me, it was in 1989, how old are you in 89?
9 years old.
9 years old. Yeah. So like I was already a teenager by then. 14 years old. I remember seeing the movie, and the first time I saw the movie, it wasn't in theaters or anything. It was probably a few years later. I saw it on a VCR tape.
Yeah.
So it was a dark, the guy was serious. Dolph Lundgren played a great Frank Castle, just pissed off, angry, and the darkness of the movie is what made it appeal to me.
Yeah.
It was, the Punisher is a violent character, and the movie maintained that sort of somber, serious tone throughout, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Right?
Like that movie to me, and I would say flash forward to when comic movies were terrible. There was a long stretch where they were very bad. Punisher was the one that I'd always say that's the only good comic movie that exists at a certain point.
Right.
There wasn't very many good ones.
Right. And I will say the movies that you're seeing nowadays are going to keep getting better and better because of special effects.
Yeah. Well, also they figured out the formula.
Well, I don't know what that means. I gave you a specific. I said special effects, and you said they figured out the formula.
They figured out.
So you got to give me more than that.
Sure. They figured out the formula of there's 2 ways. Either you stick to the exact source material and you make a basically page-for-page remake, or
give me an example.
I don't want to give away my list.
Okay.
But it's on my list. So we'll get to it. And when we get to it, it'll make sense. And then you have let's take the characters and the essence of the characters and translate that into a very unique story, but one that fits with the characters. So they figured out that formula. Right. Nowadays. Where back sometimes in the past, that formula has been missing from, completely lost.
I will still say special effects.
Okay.
Because I think everything you said is completely valid.
Yeah.
I think special effects makes a difference.
It definitely helps.
When you look at, because the whole thing is, to me, when it comes to these movies, there's 2 things you do.
Yeah.
You either make a great movie or you pay complete homage to the fan base of the characters that you're bringing to the screen. And you can go either way.
Yeah.
I think you make a great movie. Now neither of these are the objective of the studios, by the way.
Of course.
The studios, we're going to make the most money,
Yeah.
right? So we understand that, right?
Yeah, of course.
So
let's print money.
Right,
How do we print money?
Right. But now our criteria for greatness, I think, are those two things, which are very much in line of what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I think the tools of special effects, CGI, and the like that are available today allow or enable the capabilities of the studios to follow those two formulas.
That's true.
More effectively.
Because you wouldn't be able to pull off some of the stuff. That
Right. I don't want to give away my list
Of
either.
course, no.
You know, but absolutely.
Well, we can go like The Thing. Thing's not that
Right.
hasn't come out yet. But even the Fantastic Four that came out like a couple years ago, that Thing was pretty good.
Right.
It was okay. The one that they
Can't
tried
do
to
that
do
in the 80s,
yeah, they had a
Can't do it.
It would look like
Terrible.
yeah, it looked
terrible. So the and some people might say, well, wait a minute, you created this list of this criteria. Like, how does the Punisher fit the criteria? Oh, we put that as fantasy, and the reason we put it as
Correct.
fantasy is, and I guess another thing to sort of sum up the criteria: normal people cannot be these characters.
Yeah, that's
right?
correct.
Normal people cannot be the characters in the movie.
If someone tried to be the Punisher,
It would work for a day or two,
yeah, it wouldn't last very long.
and then they die. Probably be a glorious death.
Yeah.
but there's not going to be a sequel to that story.
no,
you know,
there isn't.
So that's why the Punisher so easily fit.
And we also stuck to movies because we didn't do any
Right.
series.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Because Daredevil was pretty good.
Daredevil was amazing.
It was really
Netflix
good.
Daredevil,
Yeah.
amazing,
Incredible.
amazing. Wilson Fisk, amazing.
Yeah.
Daredevil himself, amazing.
Yeah. Great casting. Anyway.
Anyway,
So Punisher. Yeah.
so that was my 5.
yeah, and that's my 4.
Your 4.
Correct.
So now you go to your 5,
Okay.
and then we'll go to my 4, and then we'll continue.
That works.
So your 5,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The original.
the original.
Yeah, the original.
the original,
Not the new one.
not the new one.
No.
Which it's like I don't understand how that movie didn't scare children. The new one.
It wasn't, the thing is, it wasn't a very bad
Splinter
movie.
was disgusting.
Splinter looked like he was.
He was disgusting.
He was disgusting.
It was a fucking rat.
It was disgusting.
Who the hell wants to look at a real rat? Anyway,
Yeah, I've never wanted him to die more. Like I was just all right, just kill him already. Put him out of his misery. He looked like he was sick. Like it was terrible.
right.
It's a rat with AIDS. We have Splinter, AIDS, Splinter.
Right.
Terrible. But the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Awesome.
yeah, legit movie.
Started a whole, sort of world of fans, TMNT
Yeah.
fans, and I was one of them. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. You play Dungeons and Dragons as a
Yeah.
kid? I used to have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle role
Oh,
playing
I never had that.
game. Yeah, so
That
I
sounds
was
awesome.
all about it. If I had a top 10, maybe this is more than likely that movie's on my list.
Yeah.
But incredible movie.
Yep.
Pulled off the effects. One of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ernie Reyes Jr., we got to meet
Yeah.
at a SIAC event,
Very
which
cool.
is pretty cool.
Yeah. He actually showed up in the sequel too as
Right.
as a little
Yep.
kid, but it was good. That movie just even all right, so you take the kid elements out. There's some good parts of that movie. Like the last scene where they're all fighting Shredder, as far as like having a bad guy be a badass, like he just killed them all. It was pretty good. And then I've got the famous line, everyone dies, but for you, when you die, you'll die without honor.
Right.
It's legit.
Good stuff.
Yeah, legit.
So that was your 5.
That's my 5.
Now my 4,
Yeah, you're 4.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Awesome. Legit.
Guardians of the Galaxy, I didn't see in the movie theater.
Yeah.
I saw on DVD a few months ago.
Yeah.
Watched it with my kids. Amazing.
Yeah. It's
Amazing.
great. They did a great job. with
I
that movie.
never read the comic.
Yeah.
So for me, I went back and started reading the comic after watching the movie. Now, it's the perfect example of what we were talking about earlier of a movie that you can't make 15, 20 years
You
ago.
couldn't make that movie.
You're not pulling that off.
No. You could. It would. No, you can't pull that off.
The character development in a movie, because this is one of the big things. You have, who's the actor that played the Star-Lord?
Chris Pratt.
Pratt,
Yeah,
right?
Chris
Chris Pratt. Amazing casting
Yeah,
for
he's
Star-Lord.
good.
But one of the things that really makes a lot of these movies suffer that have so many good characters
Yeah.
is that they never adequately develop them.
Did they get lost?
They overdevelop some,
Yep.
they underdevelop others, and there's really not that synergy that you have all these characters there for the first place for.
That's correct.
So with this movie, you see everybody was awesome.
Yeah, everybody was
everybody
legit.
was awesome. Even Groot, who just says Groot,
I am Groot.
like he was a character that people empathized with
Of
at some
course.
point in the storyline.
No, everyone loves Groot.
Rocket Raccoon, like come
Yeah.
on, great casting.
Yeah, great
for the
casting.
voice, great writing.
Yeah.
Even Benicio del Toro as the
Collector.
the collector.
Yeah.
Incredible casting. I mean, everything about that movie was awesome.
Yeah.
When you look at the amount of material, the scope of the movie's plot,
Yeah.
like with the characters, the different eras of time,
Had Thanos in it.
right, everything that they took on in that movie, and they managed to pull it off.
Yeah.
Like I would have said, impossible.
Yeah, especially for little known obscure characters that really no one, people like the hardcore fans like those guys, but they're not.
I never read that comic.
They're not like, it's not Captain America. You know, people don't know who that is. Like Drax the Destroyer, like he's actually a pretty big character, but it's not known like by most.
Right. So for me, as somebody who was introduced to that whole storyline with the movie, incredible.
Yeah, it was
absolutely
legit.
incredible.
They did a great job with that movie.
All right. So now we're both on our threes.
Okay.
Why don't you do your three first?
Okay.
Because now this is a top three.
Yeah.
This
top
is big.
three. Yeah.
Top five. Top five's big.
The Crow.
Three. The Crow.
Yeah. The Crow.
Awesome movie.
Legit. Great
awesome
movie.
What do you like about that movie?
The Crow, I mean, at that time when it came out, it was just fit right in with everything. Like as far as it was violent, it had a good story. It was well directed. Like everything about The Crow, the first one, obviously. The sequels are terrible. The first Crow, which they're going to remake, we'll see how it goes. But legit, everything about it was legit. The fact that he died filming it added a level of, I would say, just interest. Everyone was more interested in it, and
it gave it an energy that made it a little bit more than just a movie.
Correct. And they did a good job of finishing the scenes and replacing him in parts and not making it too obvious. They did. Right. They did a good job. But that movie's just legit. I really like that movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, great movie.
My number three, the original Superman.
Yeah.
Christopher Reeves. Like,
yeah.
When you talk about nostalgic, movies about superheroes, you cannot go wrong with Christopher Reeves' Superman.
Oh, wait, this is not the Brandon Routh one?
Who's that?
Exactly.
So, Christopher Reeves in the original Superman, he was the perfect casting. Many people don't know his father also played Superman.
That is correct.
In the TV series during the 50s.
George Reeves.
George Reeves.
Yeah.
But Christopher Reeves, I enjoy, and we'll see this with my the rest of my list. I enjoy a good origin story.
Yeah.
I enjoy the story of the superhero's origin when it's presented as something that when it sells the value of the story, like why you should love this character, is in his origin. And with Superman, you just saw a classic, almost family-oriented delivery of this iconic superhero.
Yeah, that's correct.
With Superman, there's the whole Kill Bill scene.
Yeah,
when he talks about Superman great. And Clark Kent is Superman's commentary on the human race.
When he wakes up, he's Superman.
He's Superman.
He has to put on a costume.
Right, to become Clark Kent.
Yeah.
He's just iconic. And when you think about Superman in terms of power, absolute power, like the whole thing is, who could beat Superman in a fight? Everything's comparing everything to Superman. We talk about the Batman versus Superman. And what was that storyline? They made an animated movie?
Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns, where he had the suit and everything. So
that's animated, so that would have been on my list.
Oh, absolutely. It was incredible. Yeah. But in in the character of Superman, he is the peak, the almost utopian representation of goodness.
Correct.
And it's good to have that because we're talking about a flying alien, that's indestructible and shoots lasers out of his eyes.
He's the farm boy.
Right. He is the all-American farm boy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So
Superman's a great movie.
Superman. So number two, who's gonna? Should I go first? You go first. Number two.
Well, I would say me, only because it'll make more sense.
Okay.
The way the list is working out.
I get you.
You got it. Sin City.
Sin City.
Sin City, as far as comic book movies go.
Sin City's a pretty badass movie.
And they followed it. First of all, it's a very unique situation. You have the writer and the guy who wrote the comic book co-directing the movie, that's very rare. Now, when he went to direct on his own, not so good. But having Robert Rodriguez there with him to kind of like make it a movie, it's, I think as far as adhering to the source material, that's the top. That's the best one.
Right. And this is what you were alluding to earlier.
Correct. This is what I was alluding to earlier as far as, the criteria is if it follows the source material exactly. Sin City, I mean, it's almost shot for shot.
Right.
Like, it's amazing.
Right.
It's a really good movie, too.
So now with Sin City, I enjoyed the style of the movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed its adherence to the source material, as you mentioned. I'm not a fan of Sin City, though.
Yeah, I get it.
So it's one of those movies that I can appreciate.
Yeah.
But it's not my, it's just a plot. It's really like a plot thing. Like the story was like,
Yeah.
Characters are incredible.
Yeah.
The visuals of it, incredible.
Yeah.
The Frank Miller-esque now,
of course.
Visual of making these movies that are like pseudo-animated, it seems at times. Just incredible.
Yeah, it's legit.
The plot line, the story of the movie itself, solid movie.
Marv, I think you like Marv the best.
Well, that's the thing. Make a movie with Marv, and people like Marv.
Marv's
and I'm going to watch it every day for
and
breakfast.
the sequel was good too. But the Sin City, and I would have put Watchmen in there, but they changed too much. But Watchmen is another one that followed the source material very well.
I admittedly, some people love Watchmen. I've never watched it.
You'll like it.
I will.
And you're not a big fan of the comic, so you're going to be able to watch it in that
I've
light,
never read the comic.
Which is good. You're going to like it, But the Sin City, I remember when it came out, I was like, wow, that was, as far as comic, I was watching a comic book, That's,
watching a comic book. That's a great way
I was
to put
watching
it.
a comic book,
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, number one. Our number one. We're ready.
You got to do number two.
I got to do number two.
Yeah.
How did I miss number two?
Yeah.
Man of Steel.
Man of Steel.
Now.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Now, my number 3 is Superman. My number 2 is Man of Steel.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly a Superman fan.
No.
I'm a Wolverine fan.
Yeah, but they have yet.
I wish I could put a Wolverine movie on this.
It would
list.
be Wolverine all 5, but they've.
I'm
yet to
almost
do it.
a Wolverine snob. Like,
Correct.
I don't even know if they can make a movie that I would like about Wolverine.
It's gonna be tough
because I'd be sucking my teeth, rolling my eyes like a little bitch the whole fucking time.
Unless you were in it.
Absolutely. So that's the way to do it. See, now you're on the right track.
Yeah.
You listening, producers? Yeah. Anyway, I'll cut my carbs. I told you. So in Man of Steel, what was different from Man of Steel compared to Superman is that Man of Steel went the ultra realism angle.
As much as you can.
It became like almost, by the way, this is this documentary footage that was found about this alien world and this guy, like it was super realistic. No pun intended. And Zod having, I don't know the actor, but from Boardwalk Empire.
Yeah.
Michael something, is it?
Michael Shannon.
Is it Michael Shannon?
Yeah.
An incredible Zod. The storyline, the fact that it included Zod.
Yeah, Zod.
Because Superman 2, you had asked me, what about Superman 2?
Yeah.
And when you have Zod, and who's the British actor who played Zod in that?
Terrence Stamp.
Terrence Stamp.
Yeah.
His Zod was one of the best villains of all time.
Son of Jor-El. Kneel before Zod.
But the thing is, that movie, Superman 2, talking about, had too many stupid, campy, kiddie parts for me to put that in front of Superman 1.
And there's a history behind it. They changed the ending. There's a whole thing with that.
And, to me, they ruined it. Yeah. Well, in Man of Steel, you got to take the best elements of these movies and put them into this reimagined, realistic format. To me, I thought it was incredible.
And they did a great job with Zod because they made him the type of villain who thinks he's doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
That's always the best villain. Mm-hmm. The one who, well, not always the best. Chaos is also good, but the one who thinks he's doing the right thing. He wants to bring back Krypton. He thinks he's doing the right thing.
Right.
And for his people, I mean, who could argue that he isn't doing the right thing? You know?
Absolutely. He's the fucking Muslim suicide bomber.
Pretty much.
To his people.
Yeah.
Right?
And there's some cool stuff in that movie, like when the guy in the bar pushes him. Like little things like that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I mean, that's the cool part of that movie.
The part where towards the beginning where he fucking goes underwater to save the I don't even know what the hell they're called. What are those things called? Oil rig in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And like you see him without his shirt. So, and it's like he's
Aquaman
almost,
shows up, by the way.
I know.
Pretty cool.
Aquaman is going to be in. Aquaman's going to be awesome. They're making an Aquaman.
It's going to be cool.
Too. It's going to be great.
20 years from now.
I hope they don't ruin it.
Yeah, true.
But in that movie, you saw a sort of reluctant hero almost become compelled to embrace who he was.
Yeah.
As opposed to the very much polar opposite Christopher Reeves, who had this sort of corny, campy, all-American, well, of course I'm going to help people and save, but how am I going to do it?
Yeah.
It was sort of that, whereas in The Man of Steel, he was discovering who he was. It was a much more introspective storytelling early on.
Correct.
It was him going through his stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like the Lois Lane casting.
No?
No,
Okay.
I don't. I don't think Margot Kidder was something decent to look at. She wasn't a pretty girl. So
she had the attitude down.
She had the attitude.
Yeah.
This one, a bit much.
I didn't mind it though.
Yeah, I mean,
I can see what you're saying.
Obviously, it's my number 2, so it's not that much of a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But an incredible story. A lot
Superman
of people,
casting was great.
Superman casting was incredible.
Really
he
good.
did an incredible job.
Yeah.
Where at the end, when they have the fights, a lot of critics were saying, yeah, they tore up the whole city like Little Old Dead. It's like, yes,
that's
what happens.
Yeah.
To me, that is the first time that somebody's ever dealt with that the way that they did, which was completely realistically.
Yeah, and it creates
now.
Yeah.
Part 2,
of course,
Batman's going to be like, wait a minute, this motherfucker's like, they're a threat.
And also Lex Luthor. That's how it sets that up, because he's always the guy who, just like Zod, he is pro-human.
Right.
And he is not, he wants a human race. He's all about that. Here comes this alien destroying stuff.
Right.
It's like, no, we can't have that. So
Right.
they did a good job of setting it up.
Right.
So
you're saying this movie's anti-Mexican.
Yes.
But
good.
to me, it's just one of, I guess number 2 on my list of greatest, comic book superhero movies ever made. Again, it was made. I don't think it could have been as well done if they didn't have the effects that they had.
True.
How they make somebody with superpowers look like it is completely normal on the screen.
Yeah, they did a good job. They
just
did a good job with the
incredible.
fights. They didn't do kung fu.
Right. They did. Yeah. It was violence versus violence.
Yeah. And him being untrained and going against the soldiers where they would kind of mess him up a little bit.
They knew what they were doing.
He might have been faster and stronger at the time, but they were higher. And then he kind of figured it out. But
The sound thing when they took the helmets off.
Yeah.
And like they dealt with that like overwhelming, sense of sound and how he was trained. And
it was
like
good.
they just touched on so many realistic things
good.
that if you watch the first one, like, yeah, but what if he did this? Like, one of the things I remember watching the original movie is Lois Lane falling and him coming up and catching her. He would have ripped right through her. Like, to me, when I saw that was what happened in my head. Like, why didn't she just get split? But then you just dismiss it. Oh, he's Superman. He did some shit. Whatever.
Yeah.
Well, this movie didn't let all those things off the hook.
No.
It dealt with it, probably not in its entirety.
Well, it's it's
how the guy,
how
he goes outside
around.
and he puts a fucking truck like on a tree,
He took all the poles and just destroyed the truck.
Yeah, like
with the poles.
how that happens, and somebody discovers that after they walk out of the bar, and the whole town is in shaking.
Suspension of disbelief.
Right, but they relied on it a hell of a lot less than a normal comic book movie would.
Agreed.
Right?
I thought Man of Steel was legit.
I loved Man of Steel. And you know what? I think we've said it before. I don't know if it was on a podcast or in conversation, but I think a casting doesn't make a movie. Yeah. And I think a casting doesn't destroy a movie.
Correct.
So I cannot stand Ben Affleck,
but
I'm not willing to throw out the possibility of this movie being great.
It could,
just because he's Batman.
I think it'll be good. I think they're gonna do it.
So
cool.
Number one.
So for me, Dark Knight.
Dark Knight, solid
Dark
pick.
Knight.
So it would probably be my number 6.
Yeah, good. Batman Begins was very good. Ra's al Ghul, Liam Neeson, legit. But The Dark Knight, like really, for that Batman, I would say, for those 3 movies, that's the one.
Yep.
That movie was great. I remember first seeing it, like the Joker was incredible. Like
Heath Ledger played an incredible Joker.
Every time he's on the screen, you're like, all right, I don't want him to leave. Like it's like what I want him to do more.
Right.
It was legit. So Dark Knight, as far as comic movies go, like for me, that's the one.
Right. Solid
movie. Good. I mean, they did a good Batman. Like Batman did a good job as far as the way they wrote the character, the way they kind of used his stuff. They kind of screwed it up for the third one, but Rachel's dead. It's like, that's not Batman.
That's not Batman.
But The Dark Knight, and I see that's the best. They seem with the Joker at the end where he's like, we're destined to do this forever.
Right.
The immovable force meets the unstoppable object, or the unstoppable object meets the immovable force.
Right.
Like that's comic book movies.
Unstoppable force meets the immovable object.
Yeah, unstoppable force meets the immovable object. That he's not going to kill him, but he doesn't want to kill him. He's like, we're just going to do this forever.
Right.
And then Heath Ledger died, so that kind of changed.
Like,
But, yeah, it's like that.
So
But yeah.
Heath Ledger, who died,
Yep.
after he died, one of the people who commented on where his mental state probably was Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson said, I warned him when he was going to play the Joker,
Yeah.
that he would have to go to dark places,
Sure.
and this could be foofy actor artsy bullshit.
Jack Nicholson's
But
not a
whatever.
fag, though.
Yeah, and he's not.
You know,
But it also segues into my top movie,
it does.
which is the original Batman.
The original Batman, which was I was fighting it to not. It almost made the. It was so close.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
It is almost like Superman is to Man of Steel as Batman is to The Dark Knight or Christopher Nolan's trilogy.
100%.
So for different reasons, I went the other direction.
I completely
in
understand.
Batman,
Yeah.
really because of the casting, because of probably personal associations, positive associations with the movie. I remember when the movie came out, I think it was 89.
Yeah.
Right? 89 it came out. I remember waiting on a line that was 4 blocks long.
Nice.
Right? As a teenager with a bunch of friends of mine. It was the Allerton movie theater in the Bronx. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
And we were 4 blocks away waiting to get tickets.
That's legit.
And we got tickets at like 8 in the morning, and it wasn't until like an 11 p.m. showing.
Nice.
And there was like 20 showings of the movie that day or some shit. Crazy.
My experience with that movie is I had the VHS tape. I'd watch it, rewind it, watch it again, rewind it, watch it the whole day.
Right.
Just watching it with the toys because I was 9, so I was playing with like the Batman toys. I didn't like when they added extra stuff. I only played with the basic Batman toys. They started putting them in like stupid suits.
Right. Yeah.
Original Batman. That's all I used.
And in that movie, in the Batman movie, you have Michael Keaton, who I think is the greatest Bruce Wayne ever. I don't think he was the greatest Batman ever.
Yeah.
I'm partial to Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Yeah.
I'm partial to Christian Bale as Batman.
I agree.
The Michael Keaton Bruce Wayne, though, I think you can't top it. You had Jack Nicholson.
He was good. Jack Nicholson
as
the Joker.
The Joker is just you do not get a better portrayal of a villain, a comic book villain, than Jack Nicholson's Joker. You had the Prince soundtrack, which made the movie, I think, even more iconic. Yeah. Because that was when he was at the top of his game.
100%.
And it was just a completely unique way to approach a soundtrack for a movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's get Prince to write, a soundtrack to Batman. You know,
it was
like who made that call? But it worked. The scene where the Joker's dancing, he has one of his, I think he's trying to kidnap Vicky Vale. It's when Batman comes to the roof, and they have the scene where they're like that musical montage where they're like screwing everything up and they're all dancing. And he's marching and everything. Like Jack Nicholson as Joker with that soundtrack was incredible.
He was. I don't like that they killed him.
Yeah, you know what? It's like one of those things. It's a good thing they killed him because God forbid he showed up in any of the other movies that they made.
That's the only. We'll get to that. Right? That's the only way that's okay because you can't kill the fucking Joker.
Right. So for me, I could watch that movie. I could watch Batman over and over again.
Yeah, I did.
Incredible.
I'm a little bit nuts though.
Incredible movie. So let's go over it. 5-1. Give me your list again.
All right. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the original, The Punisher, The Crow, Sin City, and The Dark Knight.
Strong list. Very strong list. My list: The Punisher, also the original Punisher.
Yep.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Superman.
Yep.
Christopher Reeve's Superman. Man of Steel, and the original Batman.
Yeah.
Solid list. I think, both of us have very, similar sort of likes and dislikes. The Sin City thing, you read more, or you have read more graphic novels and stuff than I have.
That comes from, the reason Sin City's on the list is because that graphic novel was sitting on my shelf for years, and all of a sudden they're making a movie, and the director and the writer, it's like, it was just, perfect storm of, oh, wow.
See, for me, my experience with comics, I was very almost core Marvel, core DC universe. I didn't go out. Like, I remember when they announced that they were making a Walking Dead TV series.
Yeah.
How many of my friends were like, "Oh man, that's awesome." I had no idea what The Walking Dead even was.
Yeah.
Same thing with Guardians of the Galaxy to some
Sure.
extent. You know, when you start getting to the fringes of the universe,
Yeah.
or other projects that have nothing to do with the typical source
Sure.
material.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I was almost out of the comic book world.
Yeah.
When that came about.
And the real, like, I'm waiting now. There's been rumors, Valiant. There's a universe called the Valiant universe. Those comics are amazing. And they've been flirting with making movies with them for a while. Hopefully, eventually.
What would be their most popular vehicle to put forward?
I would say probably Harbinger would be the one they make. That's legit.
Never heard of it.
It's like X-Men, but in a more realistic way, I would say.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's good. And then they have, Turok the Dinosaur Hunter.
Yeah.
That comes from that. They have a barbarian who wears like an Iron Man suit of armor, but it's like he's a Asgoth barbarian, a Visigoth.
What's his name?
Arlick.
That sounds awesome.
And he basically gets put in an alien suit and he wakes up in modern times, but he's like Conan, and it's awesome. It's good.
That sounds great.
So yeah, this, like, if they start making movies from this, it's like, it's very, very violent and it's very realistic, but with, elements from other things. So I'm waiting for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So let's get to our Pressure Player Unicorn.
Yeah,
Pressure Player.
Pressure Player.
MCU.
100%. Legit. Marvel Cinematic Universe.
There you go.
Yeah.
Break it down.
Why you're looking at me. I was like,
waiting
waiting
for
for me to say it.
You get it. You get it.
Yep.
Yeah. Why is that the Pressure Player, Pat?
I would say that's the Pressure Player because they are the tip of the spear. They're the ones that are in the front lines they've made a cohesive universe from popular characters to little known characters. They started, at a certain point, they started taking the characters who were making separate movies and started weaving them into one cohesive universe.
They're the ones that are sort of setting the pace.
Yeah.
For this is where comic book movies are going.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to come out with a Black Panther movie and people are going to go see it. It's going to be awesome.
It's the guy from 42.
Yeah.
He's awesome. I forget his name, but
I know who you're talking about. Yeah. And they have, think about it. Guardians of the Galaxy, like that would have never existed. And it couldn't exist before.
Who would have even cared about
no one.
All those smaller characters? Like
no one. It would have been one of
the. They did it right.
It would have been like the cult movie in the corner that people like. But and I think the way they've been doing it, they've been doing a good job.
Yeah.
Kind of stringing everything together. They have big plans for the future. As far as like very ambitious plans. But I think they'll do it. Avengers: Age of Ultron was legit. Like they haven't
seen that. I'm going to see that this week.
It's really good. You know what I mean?
And you know what too?
Yeah.
You'll notice the way that they're handling these franchises is very, I think, sort of next generation in terms of how entertainment is going to be consumed.
Agreed.
All of these movies that are connected in different directions, there are different means and media by which we could enjoy and consume the material. Not everything is going to be. Remember that awesome movie, and that movie sort of stood by itself. Maybe you had some merchandise that supported it. You have so many different applications of media nowadays to support and expand a storyline.
Yeah, I mean, now the Netflix series, they're building
Netflix
up to the Defenders.
Done changed the game.
Yeah, Daredevil was legit. They're coming out with a bunch of other stuff. Eventually, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, the Defenders.
Iron Fist,
and then from there, that'll lead into. That actually, they said, will lead into the next Avengers.
Power Man Iron Fist, one of my favorite childhood
Iron Fist,
series.
legit. They already had his villain, like the symbol, and they were hinting at it. Yeah, so
and Daredevil.
Yeah, and that's Daredevil is like a 13-hour amazing movie.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Pretty much.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. That's why that's
girl still didn't get naked. The one from True Blood.
That's right. I don't think it's. What did they rate it? It wasn't technically rated R, but it was like.
Whatever. I don't care.
They were cutting people's heads off. I mean, that was legit.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. Okay, so
Pressure Player all the
MCU.
way.
Yep. Unicorn.
Yeah. Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. Holy shit.
Worst
Batman
comic book movie easily. One of the worst movies ever.
One of the worst movies ever made. Now, this is the opposite of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Complete opposite.
This is, let's just throw as many elements into this movie as possible.
Yeah.
And hopefully the shit will work.
It was horrible. They had Bane in there as like
some idiot
plant zombie.
Oh, when you look at Bane, played by Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And Christopher Nolan, was it Batman Dark Knight Rises?
Dark Knight Rises.
That's who Bane was.
Bane is super intelligent.
Super intelligent.
Yeah. Super strong. Figures out who Batman is.
Right.
Makes a plan and breaks him.
So literally,
Yeah.
when you look at the Bane of Batman and Robin, it's like, how do you do that? How do you make this incredible character who carried a whole movie? You know, the villain side of a movie,
Yeah.
and Dark
And in
Knight
the
Rises,
comics, Bane
same
is
thing,
legit,
right?
like,
Absolutely. You know, so disgusting. I mean,
oh.
the Robin character, you know,
Yeah. This is why Superman works alone. It's like, lines like that.
it's just
have no
too
place.
many it's almost like they tried to reimagine or reenact the campiness of the
The Adam
original
West.
Batman.
Yeah, sure.
I wouldn't even say the Adam West one. I would say the one-liners and the tongue-in-cheek sort of humor that you found in the original Batman that Jack Nicholson pulled off all the time.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
Like the
Yeah,
whole
they
the
try-
thing
yeah.
I was talking about before when
Yeah.
he was dancing
Yeah.
through I think it was a museum or a
Mhm.
restaurant.
It's the art gallery.
Yeah, the art
Yeah.
gallery.
Yeah.
And he's acting like that. Like it was a whole movie of that sort of entertainment.
Yeah.
And the original Batman, that fit because of the contrast.
And because Jack Nicholson is good.
Jack Nicholson's the man.
Yeah.
You know, but Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Everybody chill. There's some terrible
Oh my
lines.
God,
that he
you're
has.
looking up the one line. What are some of his one-liners?
Everybody chill. That was one. You're not going to put me in the cooler. That's another one. Batman, you're not going to put me in the cooler. Terrible.
It's like, you're really gonna say that?
Yeah. There's a freeze coming to the city. Like, just terrible stuff.
You go from that to I am Gotham's reckoning.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the
I am
fuck-
Gotham's reckoning.
That's a one-liner
Yeah.
right there.
Do you feel in charge?
Oh, that's scene.
That's
And this gives you power over me.
Yeah, this gives you power.
Oh my God.
That's, But anyway, yeah, Mr. Freeze was horrible.
Absolutely horrendous.
He's talking to the girl, and she doesn't want to talk to me. He goes, "Talk about a cold shoulder." It's like, you gotta be kidding me. Terrible movie.
Poison Ivy was in that, right?
Yeah, she was in
Uma
that.
Thurman.
Uma Thurman. Bat nipples. They had nipples on the bat suit. And like, there's a whole scene where it's just like, I don't know. It's terrible. I can't even describe how bad it is.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I went and saw that movie knowing full well it was going to be horrible. But it was just like, I'm happy. And I brought two people with me, and at the end I was like, before we started, I was like, this movie's gonna be terrible. It's just we got to do it, And that was the nail in the coffin. I would say that was the last terrible comic book movie. Yeah. They started turning the tide after that. Like that's like how Jack Donovan says if Hillary Clinton becomes president,
might start the world.
It could, yeah. This was that for comic book movies.
We just start the world.
Yeah. This was that for comic book movies. When this came out, it was like, we can't make another movie that bad. Like people finally were like. Maybe the guy
it's like the toilet was flushed.
Yeah. It's like the guy
that was the last piece that went into
the guy who runs the Marvel universe now saw that movie and was like, I gotta do something.
I will save this.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it's gone too far. But yeah.
All right. So solid list.
Yeah.
Solid pressure player.
Yeah.
Deserving unicorn.
Yeah.
Best comic book superhero movies of all time. Break it down, Pat.
So comic book movies as they are now are much different than they were in the past. They've gotten a lot better overall. Even the ones that are not very good are still, it's almost like we're, at an age where they were so bad that you couldn't even talk about them. Now it's like we're becoming snobby a little bit. There's a couple ones that back in the day would have been amazing, but we've spoiled now. The movies are getting so much better and getting better and better as they go. It's great. It's a great time for those kind of movies. I think that the DC universe is going to do well as far as the Marvel universe set the tone, and now DC's trying to get on board, and I think they'll do good. Man of Steel, like MC said, was legit. Batman v Superman, even though the title isn't very good, I think it has some potential. And then they're making Aquaman and Green Lantern. I think the future's bright for comic book movies, and that's a good thing for everyone, especially for children, especially for when you're raising someone in the tribe. Showing them superheroes is a good thing. It's a great way to illustrate, power. A great way to illustrate doing the right thing. Code 47. Always be super. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. So in the comic book world, right, or the act of reading comics, as an aspect of who we are. Yep. There's an RPS formula. Right. And the procreation aspect of the comic book world was, I would say, was in jeopardy. It was in jeopardy because you're always going to have your diehard comic book fans, but that is all we used to have. And in such an overwhelmingly busy world that we have today with the internet, cell phones, the video games, sitting down with a very fragile, little mini magazine where you had to read and look at individual frames of artwork, like that was something that needed to sort of be re-inspired to maintain and preserve. I think these movies have done a great job doing that. I like the direction, just like you said, that these movies are moving in. I think in the beginning, because of the lack of capabilities, special effects wise, you had more story-driven, character-driven, dialogue-driven superhero movies. I think when you start talking about Batman and Robin and some of the terrible movies that were made, you now see all of these new toys of CGI, special effects, and the like, basically not knowing how to be used. It wasn't until the movie makers became comfortable with these tools that we now went back to how do we use the CGI and effects to get back to these character-driven, plot-driven stories that make comics so amazing. The thing about comic books is there are no special effects. They're animation, illustrations, right? And you're looking at one picture from the next. There are no effects. It's just art with dialogue. But we became enamored with the characters. We fell in love with the stories. Wolverine, the angry loner, like, hello, he got me through some tough times in my teenage years, and that's real to a lot of people. And I think the movies now are moving in a direction where that could be reclaimed in a movie media, so I'm excited. I'm excited for my kids that they're gonna, their exposure to some of these characters are gonna be more in line with how we saw them when we were introduced to them.
Yeah.
Because the movies now, or the films, the studios have the capability of doing so and have the level of success that empowers them and enables them to do so. So they don't have to stray away from the original storylines. It's actually becoming a sort of badge of honor for these movies. This one really follows the comic. This one, they really did a great job, fleshing out these characters legitimately. Like that is starting to become the thing. When you have people like the Netflix people doing Daredevil, it's like they're setting the tone. It's like, you can't get away with any bullshit anymore.
No way.
We're doing a 13-episode movie.
Yeah.
We're going to break it up into episodes, and we're going to release everything at once. It's going to have incredible casting, incredible writing, incredible effects where necessary.
Yeah.
Like, just an incredible experience. You can't make a Batman and Robin in the era of Daredevil. Can't happen.
Nope.
In the era of Man of Steel. Can't happen, which is good. We've evolved past that. Thank you, folks, for listening. Just nerding out.
Yeah,
just
don't
nerding
forget,
out with
don't
the
forget
brothers.
Preacher's coming.
Preacher's Pat and Preacher. I've never read it. I think subliminally, I feel like you're forcing me to do it, so I refuse to do it. I don't do it on a conscious level.
I even gave you all of them, remember?
He did.
Yeah.
He
It's all right.
File with it.
Yeah, it's all right.
You know,
when the
so-
show comes out, you'll be like, yeah, all right, I see it. now.
You're
If-
right.
Unless
You're
they do
always
it,
right about those things.
they
with me.
do it. If they do it right, they better do it right.
Everything you've ever given that level of recommendation to
Yeah.
has always been spot on. I think Guardians of the Galaxy was one of them. I didn't see it in the movie theater. You were like, no, you have to watch that. One of
Yeah.
my top 5 now. So absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Nerding out with the brothers. Hope you had a good time. We certainly did. We had to go 5. We're 45 minutes in, just talking about 5 each.
Yeah.
If we went 10, 20,
No.
it's just a damn mini series.
Yeah.
But you guys have your own opinions. Some of you will agree with us. Some of us will think. Some of you will think our picks are absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. Well, the comment section is open on the member site.
Yeah, comment section's open on the member site.
Yep.
And we appreciate the dialogue, right?
Yeah.
It's always about the conversation here at the Pressure Project. ThePressureProject.com is our website. ThePressureProjectMembers.com is our members site. Check that out if you're not a member. $25 you get 3 months access to the archive, a whole bunch of other stuff, and you're able to invest in making this better, giving us more stuff to do.
And we have a new 2-year member that we should mention.
We have
Morrissey.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Chris, Morrissey. He's, this is another thing. Like, we're trying to figure out.
Well, it's live. Like you can make a choice on if you're getting a full
Okay.
shout out or
Right. So one of the things
he was
when
the
you
last
joined,
one before.
he was the last one,
Yeah,
right?
he
So
got
Chris
in there
Morrissey.
before it happened. Yeah.
He, giving him a shout as a 2-year member. One of the things we said when you joined for 2 years, it's $125. We send you a shirt.
Yeah.
And we give you a shout out in one of the episodes. But we have people who don't want a shout out
Correct.
because they want to maintain their anonymity, and
Which
I'm
is
all
fine.
about it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of anonymous friends. That's what I tell
Yeah.
everybody I deal with, and I totally understand. So now we have the option.
Yes. When you sign up for that, there's a little box that says for the shout out, and it'll say yes, full name, first name, or none. As in, if you don't want a shout out,
Right.
we'll say just your first name, or we'll say your full name. It's up to you. You get to choose.
Right. So,
So that's up there now.
Morrissey's old timer as far as the
Yeah.
Pressure Project is concerned, one of the original
Correct.
fan base members, and a future guest. We're going to have him on.
Yeah.
He has an interesting story himself, and
Yeah.
so thank you for the support, brother.
Awesome.
All right, guys. We enjoyed this conversation. We look forward to speaking to you all on the next episode. And as always, brothers, pressure to power.